Well, good evening and welcome to the February 2026 meeting of Safe Silver Spring. This is our quarterly meeting with the representatives of the MCPD 3rd District in Silver Spring. Uh, as usual, we'll lead off with a presentation from our commander, Jason Kokinos. Then he'll introduce some of his senior staff, the deputy commanders. And at the end of their presentations, you can ask any questions you want, and they're very generous with their time, and we'll answer all of our questions. So thank you very much, and let me turn it over to the commander. Commander, please.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Appreciate it. I guess Happy New Year for everybody, even though it's February. We all haven't been together since last year, and so lot going on. A lot of positive stuff, some areas of improvement. We'll talk about it all. I'm going to try to give you a snapshot of every little bit of Silver Spring and what we have going on. Also, I have our deputy commanders. So Lieutenant Rebecca Innocente represents Four Corners, Hillendale, White Oak, Fairland, and Burtonsville. So for the folks that are from that area. Lieutenant Doug Miller's on here. He represents folks that are living essentially Forest Glen, everywhere inside the Beltway, downtown Silver Spring, and our Long Branch area. And then Lieutenant Pat Kep is on. He oversees everything that's happening in the after hours, the overnight shifts, the midnight shifts, and also our community operations and our district community action team. So they're all on here, which they can each talk about, anything unique that you might want to talk about. What I'll do is I'm going to give you first a broad district-wide kind of snapshot of where we're looking at with crime. I'll very briefly go into the different areas of Silver Spring. And then, just really want to open it up as we normally do to hear questions from you all, things specific. We can talk about initiatives that we did. One thing that for Lieutenant Innocente, if you want to talk about in a few moments, the Holiday Task Force, that was something we did again this year that we did at the end of 2024 that had some very successful results. We also did an initiative, which I'll touch on briefly, in White Oak on Lockwood Drive that Lieutenant Innocente led as well, which contributed to some of the positive numbers that we're going to be talking about for White Oak. And then Lieutenant Doug Miller has, throughout the end of the year, been focusing on quality of life issues, particularly Veterans Plaza and the Ellsworth and Fenton area, our shopping area, that we've also seen some improvements in a decline in quality of life issues and a decline in robberies, which we'll talk about. Still much work to be done. If I had a graphic, you would see a chart, a bar graph that would go down and down again. And so when we talk about, for those that were here last year when I presented 2024 compared to 2023, we saw crime declines in many areas around the district, sizable crime declines in downtown Silver Spring and other parts. And 2025 compared to 2024 is continuing that trend. I'm happy to report. There are some areas that we need to do a little better in, which I'll talk about. But overall crime, district-wide, we've seen violent crime significantly down. Carjackings down considerably. Aggravated assaults involving a gun. So if someone that shoots at someone or points a gun at someone, district-wide down 53% compared to 2024. Downtown Silver Spring down 68%. So we're seeing a lot less gun crime in downtown Silver Spring and in other parts around the district. A lot of that has to do, we've been very aggressive with trying to remove illegal firearms that are in possession by folks with felonies and violent histories that shouldn't have them. When we're able to take a gun off the street, we are preventing potentially a shooting and a homicide. So that proactive work by officers, in my opinion, is saving lives. It's saving injury. We talk about bad people, felons that are possessing illegally possessed firearms, ghost guns, guns with switches that make them automatic. These are bad things. So we've had a huge increase, a huge decrease in weapons offenses, and an increase in weapon seizures. The other thing which is interesting is, unfortunately, and we're going to have to really work with our partners at HHS, Health and Human Services, is we've seen a decrease in fentanyl which is good news. We're seeing a decrease in overdose deaths. However, we're seeing a resurgence. We're seeing a comeback of crack cocaine, particularly in the White Oak and the downtown Silver Spring area. A lot of crack cocaine showing up. We had an increase in drug-related arrests, also in our Long Branch area this past year. We're already seeing a continued increase in cocaine and crack cocaine, particularly downtown Silver Spring. So as you see the national drug enforcement efforts and trends and focuses, these cartels and these drug dealers, they diversify what they're doing based on the exposure. So right now, obviously, we're seeing a lot of focused efforts on fentanyl, around the border importation from Mexican cartels. Well, now we're getting a lot of cocaine again, like we did before fentanyl even existed, coming into the country. So we're seeing that, and so that's something that we need to focus on the drug dealers, but also we need to adjust potentially how we're interacting with our folks that are addicted to these substances and getting them connected with services, for the cocaine now instead of the opioids. Robberies district-wide are down. They went down from 2024 compared to 23. They went down again, about 8.5% district-wide. And our homicides, unfortunately, we had some homicides in 2025. They equaled out to be the same amount as we had in 2024. However, the difference was um, most of our homicides were north of the Beltway. So we only had one murder in all of 2025 in downtown Silver Spring, and that was actually towards the end of the year. It was at Fenton Street and Ritchie Avenue. It was a fight between two cousins. They came into Silver Spring to shop. They're not from Silver Spring. There was a dispute, and unfortunately, one cousin shot the other one. But outside of that, unfortunately, a lot of our homicides were actually in the northern part of Silver Spring as we get into, White Oak, Fairland up north. We did see a number of our homicides in 2025 that we believe that are related to illegal drug distribution. And particularly, the interesting thing is the homicides and shootings that are actually related to marijuana sales, which is interesting because one would hypothesize that with the legalization, decriminalization, and the ability to go to marijuana stores, that we would see a decrease in violence associated with that, but we're not. Uh, of all the drugs, marijuana continues to be where we see our violent crime with regards to drug-related shootings and homicides still revolve around marijuana. Touching into area specific, so downtown Silver Spring, we had 75% decrease in homicides. We had four in 2024, one in 2025. Our robberies dropped 10% in downtown Silver Spring. Now 2024 from 23, they dropped 32%. So we're seeing steady declines on robberies. Already this year, it's the middle of February. Obviously, we did have some cold weather and a storm, but we're seeing continued declines thus far. Um, the auto thefts dropped an additional 8% from the 43% they dropped in 2024. Shoplifting. Shoplifting is something that continues to be a big problem. And I'm not talking about the folks that are going in and stealing a bag of chips. That still happens, but we still are seeing these organized groups that are going in and taking trash bags full of items, thousands of dollars of merchandise from stores like Target and CVS and grocery stores to be resold either through a third party or sold online. So we've been seeing a lot of shoplifting. So, however, we finished last year because last year was a target year of shoplifting downtown. We actually, even with all of our enforcement and efforts, decreased shoplifting by 19% downtown. It's still about 80% above where it was in 2019. So if we look at that 5, 6 year trend line, we still have a lot of work to do, but it was over 100+% up last year. And so we're seeing some progress. So we're going to keep focusing on that. Carjackings were down 50%. That's good news. We only had four of them in downtown Silver Spring all year. That's four too many, in my opinion, but that's down from eight the previous year, which is down 61% from 19 that happened in 2023. Felony assaults involving a gun, we only had 8 in downtown Silver Spring all of last year. That's 68% down what we had in 2024. So the areas of improvement for downtown Silver Spring, what we're going to focus on for 2026, car break-ins. We had an increase in car break-ins in downtown Silver Spring in the parking garages and other areas, not only overnight, but during the day as well. So we've been focusing on that already, and we're going to keep doing that this year. We're going to stay focused on shoplifting, and we're going to keep trying to drive that down. We're going to be focusing on quality of life issues around the downtown Silver Spring area. And really, we're going to be focused in the now and as the warm months approach on juveniles. We have a lot of juveniles that we've been seeing coming up on the train, and they've been causing some mayhem downtown, fights, things of that nature. A lot of our robberies last year were juvenile on juvenile. They kids see each other out. Maybe there's an ongoing dispute, or they don't like each other or something. They beat each other up and then take their sneakers, right? Something like that. We have to classify that as a robbery. So we're going to be focusing on juveniles, packs of juveniles that are roaming around, and really our first approach with that is hopefully obviously visibility from police, but also to try to engage the kids in a positive way. Say hi to them, let them know that we're there. If they want to come enjoy movie theater or restaurant, we obviously definitely welcome them to do so. But we want them to know that any illegal activity, criminal activity is not going to be accepted downtown. And just to also allow a safe time for those that are really coming with good intentions. So we'll stay focused on all that. We are going to be looking district-wide to increase our traffic enforcement this year, targeting aggressive driving and speeders. We hear a lot of that from everybody on 29 and Georgia Avenue and different places. We're going to be doing some more initiatives with traffic enforcement. The Forest Glen area, the only crime was very low in that area, which is good, with the exception of we had some spurts of car break-ins and some occasional auto thefts. So we are already looking at that and focusing on that as one of our hotspot areas for our car break-ins. When we get into Long Branch, last year we had a lot of focus on quality of life, particularly Piney Branch and University. There was a lot of drug activity going on. We were able to appropriately deal with that through police and our partners, whether it was Health and Human Services and other entities. And so we're going to keep working on the quality of life issues on Flower Avenue and Piney Branch Road and things like that. We had some violence in Long Branch. We had 2 murders last year. They were related to MS-13 gang activity. They have all been arrested and charged. Unfortunately, some other young folks were caught up in that, and we did have those 2 homicide incidents, shootings that took place. Outside of that little blip of gang activity that we had, violent crime overall in the Long Branch area is pretty low, with the exception of robberies. We did have an unusual spurt of robberies last year, 24 of them in the whole Long Branch area, which is quite unusual. So we're going to be focusing on that through robbery suppression with high visibility. We plan this year, as new recruits are coming out of the academy. We're currently training 6. As we get them done their field training, we plan to increase some officers in the Long Branch area, not only to make sure that we can reduce the robberies should they try to come back this year, but also to keep on that quality of life issue thing that we get the complaints. Flower Avenue just had a Main Street designation put to it. We have the red purple line coming through construction. So as Long Branch gets an infusion of transit and other things, we want to work on the quality of life so that our businesses over there and folks can come out and enjoy the restaurants and shopping and stuff like that. As we get up into Hillendale and Four Corners, relatively low criminal activity in those areas, which is great news for folks that live there. Obviously, we do have some car break-ins and things of that nature sporadically that we're tracking. Shoplifting is another thing in the Hillendale Shopping Center, and then a little bit in Four Corners that we're tracking that we saw last year that we started putting some efforts into. I know you keep hearing me say shoplifting and theft a lot. That actually, theft is the a study that was just done internally by the department. Theft encompasses a majority of the officers' time in Silver Spring. That's probably our biggest public safety issue, is the theft issues, not only from shoplifting, but you know, stealing out of cars and different things like that. So when we move up to White Oak, White Oak, we had early in the year we had a bunch of robberies in the Lockwood Drive around the Enclave area. Early on in the year, we did make some arrests last year with that. There were some juveniles local to White Oak that were engaged in that. We had shoplifting is a big increase in the White Oak area. That includes obviously the White Oak Shopping Center, but then the shopping center on Cherry Hill Road with the Target and the Kohl's and things like that. So we've been partnering a lot with Target and those different stores, and going to try to provide that emphasis that we did in downtown Silver Spring to White Oak. We've seen a positive return on investment, a decrease in shoplifting in downtown. We're going to try to replicate that as we work with our businesses up in White Oak. Lockwood Drive quality of life issues. We had a host of issues at the transit center there around the White Oak area. Lieutenant Innocente put a detail together there with a variety of different resources. We had drug sales going on, we had nudity, we had drinking in public, we had fights, we had different stuff going on. We did a 3 month kind of all hands approach to that area, culminated with a nice community event where we did a neighborhood cleanup. We worked with the businesses there. We saw fantastic return on investment, about a 67% reduction in calls to that block, which is really good. People being able to safely use the transit, the businesses, a lot better place, a lot less people harassing them and stuff. So we're going to keep that enforcement, that quality of life enforcement going on as we continue into this year. We've seen a significant decline in robberies, a significant decline in violence after doing that. So what that kind of demonstrates is high visibility officers dedicated, partnering with the community and the businesses, working on these hotspot areas is actually working very well, and we're going to keep replicating that. We'll be focused on the car break-ins that are also happening in that area. As we get up to Fairland, up through Briggs Cheney into Burtonsville, Burtonsville, wonderful up there, new shopping center, everything going on, very nice, very, very, very safe up there. We've had occasional theft problems, but not very much. We have had a lot of vehicle related crime, cars getting broken into and stuff like that along the Briggs Cheney and the Fairland corridors, which we're focusing on. We started focusing on towards the end of last year. We're going to keep doing that this year. The main thing that's going on up there, besides the auto related crimes, is we did have last year in the Briggs Cheney Fairland area some shootings and some other violent crime related to drug sales. So we've been working those areas, and we've had some success. I know for those that follow me on social media, on X, and they follow some of our news releases and such. We've made a number of stops up there and recovered illegally possessed guns that were on some pretty dangerous people, and as such, we have seen a decline in that activity since. But that is something that we need to stay focused on. So there's a lot of ingredients that go into an overall public safety approach. We're looking at a lot of different problems in a lot of different areas. We track it very closely. We have a dashboard with technology that shows us dots on the map. Our data is only as good as folks that are reporting it. So if you are a victim of a crime, which we hope you never are, we need you to report that so we can track it. But overall, I'm very pleased with how 2025 came out, and I have really high hopes for 2026. We're going to keep our foot on the gas pedal. We're going to keep trying to make it better, and we're going to partner with all of you and our businesses to do so. So I'll wrap up that, and Alan, I don't know if you want the lieutenants to talk a little bit. I know Rebecca can talk about the holiday task force that we did, and then we can always just open it up to questions whenever.
Let's ask the lieutenants to talk to the group.
Yeah, Rebecca, I don't know if you want to
Yep.
start.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Rebecca Naseni, and I can talk about the Holiday Crime Suppression Task Force that we had. So that was made up of a small group, so 5 officers and 1 sergeant, and they are from our Silver Spring district. So they were chosen based on interest. So they wanted to be part of this group. They were motivated, and their job was just to enhance public safety during the holiday season. So they started this task force on December 1st and ended mid-January. Um, they made 44 theft arrests. Again, I know Commander mentioned a number of times shoplifting is still an issue. They had great relationships with many of the stores throughout the district. Ellsworth Place, they were working with establishments there as well as the Target, some of the Safeways, CVS. So again, the majority of those arrests were shoplifting, and we continue to work with those establishments. And many of them have been very pleased that we're willing to work with them to combat that shoplifting issue. Um, they had they arrested 2 suspects for in stolen vehicles, 8 drug-related arrests, 268 traffic stops, which is just a phenomenal number of traffic stops. And then they recovered 2 handguns, which again, Commander mentioned when you're removing handguns off the street, you don't know what types of violent crime you're preventing, but you're preventing violent crime. Um, with that, I can also talk about, theft from vehicles. That's one of the most common crimes. Again, throughout the district, it's one of those crimes that affects the most amount of people, and it's one of the number one complaints that I receive from people. We have a overtime detail for that, and we've had that the last several couple of months. So those are extra officers during the overnight hours. We look at crime data and see the nights of the week where these thefts are occurring the most, and then we also look at which neighborhoods are being hit the most. So we have additional officers Monday through Thursday. Again, they're working during the overnight hours, and they're supposed to be, again, proactive and visible. So we want people to see them out patrolling neighborhoods. So we want these people that are committing these crimes to know that Montgomery County Police are patrolling these neighborhoods. And those neighborhoods are throughout the district. And then, of course, as Commander mentioned, the downtown garages. So we have officers dedicated during those nights of the week, just patrolling those garages downtown as well, trying to deter people from these theft from vehicles. That issue. That's what I have for now, unless anyone has any questions, or we can move on to the other lieutenants.
Let's move on and take all the questions at the same time. Commander, do you want to introduce your next deputy commander? Is that Pat Cap?
Yes, I don't know if yeah, Pat, can you hear us? Are you on? Um, let's see. And
He's
if he
on.
not,
No,
let's
he's
see.
on.
Is he?
I can. I just had to hit unmute and start the video.
Ah,
All right. Good evening,
very good.
everyone.
How about this? All three of you now.
All
Look at
three.
that. Hey,
There we
Pat,
go.
I don't know if and if you don't have it in front of you, I have it in my brain. So I know one thing that's been of interest to some people in the group is our interaction with youth sports. So I know Brandon's been doing basketball and futsal and stuff.
Yeah. So again, for those I believe I spoke to, I got loud dog starting out as soon as I talk. I started back in October in the third district again, and I oversee community services. And one thing for the commander mentioned, we have 2 community services officers who are out in the community doing meetings and interactions with youth. And one of the big things that they're starting here tomorrow, actually, is the futsal program. In, in give me 1 second. We're on outside.
It's like my
Futsal
German
program
Shepherd.
in the Long Branch area. Um, that's going to go at the Long Branch Community Center, and it's going to go for a few weeks to hopefully engage that community. And then Officer Glenda Franco is managing that, and then we have the basketball program that Officer Brandon McLeod is doing. This coming up a few weeks after that. So some good opportunities to, as Commander alluded to, with youth in downtown Silver Spring, and that's where we're seeing some of the interactions not be so positive. We're trying to create those positive interactions with them on the front end to engage them, get them involved in some things within the community, and hopefully head off any of those issues. So those 2 things are coming up. Again, tomorrow is futsal, the start of it. And I know we'll have out some social media posts and whatnot on it. So it starts at from 3 to 9 at the Long Branch Community Center. And then basketball starts in a few weeks after that. So those are our two big efforts as it pertains to juveniles and youth and interacting in the community. Those officers, as well as Sergeant Troy Brenner, who's in charge of community services, are out, and Officer Cupiolo, who's our traffic complaint officer. They're out there in the community, attending different homeowner association meetings and other pop-out meetings, school events, things like that, to again kind of present what Commander and the rest of the deputy commanders here are presenting on a smaller level. Again, Rebecca did one just the other night, last night. And then the other, I guess, aspect that I have that I can touch on is our district community action team, our DCAT team. Whereas the group that Lieutenant Innocenti was talking about during the holidays was a focused effort for that short period of about 2 months during the holidays. We have my DCAT team, which we're fortunate to have fully staffed now, and they're out there doing that kind of work throughout the entire district on a weekly basis, 52 weeks out of the year. So they're out there going to those hot spots where we have issues within the community, where we have upticks in crime, upticks in certain quality of life issues, whatever it may be. And they're out there taking those enforcement actions and trying to build those community contacts and things like that. So it's not something that just ends with the holidays or, kicks up when we have a specific problem or hotspot. That DCAT team is out there, all year long doing that work. So unless Commander has other specific things, I think those are my main points of focus and things to report back to you all.
So
Yeah, and the thing about Brandon McLeod, which is another, in addition to the basketball and the futsal stuff we're doing, there's a group that they've created, police sports club. So we don't have a PAL, Police Athletic League, for those on here that know what that is. I had that when I grew up in Jersey. The local police department partners with schools and they have youth sports, and it's the police officers are coaching and mentoring. It's a very positive thing. Unfortunately, we don't have that. It's something that I know Chief Yamada would like to have at some point. Maybe we can get there in sometime in the future. But a police sports club is kind of an informal thing that's going on in the third district that Officer McLeod's looking to grow, and it's going to basically touch on a couple different schools in Silver Spring, and primarily targeting our middle schoolers and things of that nature, where we're going to be able to get them engaged in some sports activities with police officers that are volunteering and working in partnership with the schools. So those sports activities are going to grow even more to the best that we can with our limited resources. So it's exciting for 2026.
Yeah, just to go a little further, I pulled the dates on it. Officer McLeod's Police Sports Club starts up at Burnt Mills Elementary School Thursday, March 5th, and runs those three Thursdays in March, and then picks back up in mid-April. And then his 3-on-3 basketball, which we've been doing, man, since my first time in Silver Spring, back that ended around 2017-18, that we've been doing that at the White Oak Community Center, starts off on Friday, April 10th. So lots of opportunities and things that he's doing there that I know either Commander or our PIO will get out there in some social media posts.
Excellent. Yeah, elementary school. Sorry, I said middle school. Cool. Last one is Doug Miller. I know he's actually out on the street. He's working out there in the field as we speak. I don't know if he's got anything to add. I kind of stole a lot of his talking points, as I usually do earlier on. If Doug, you're on.
I
He may have,
don't. I
yeah, he may have dropped off. I know he's working on the street right now, so that's fine. If he pops back on, we can have him show his face. But he's downtown Silver Spring, and he's been leading the charge, which we're going to be doing again, like I noted, working on Veterans Plaza, Ellsworth Drive, as particularly as the weather gets warm, making sure that we stay on top of any issues that we're seeing with juvenile crime and things of that nature. So, Alan, I think that's what we got. If you want to go to questions.
Yeah, let's go to questions. People, if you want to ask questions, please use the raise your hand function underneath the react button. There are no bad questions. And while people queue up for that, wanted to ask the commander about the status of the drone program. I think I saw something about it had been reinstated in downtown Silver Spring, and also wanted to know whether or not anything had happened in the White Oak area.
Yeah, so we had to temporarily suspend drone operations in downtown Silver Spring. They're building a, parking garage right near the intersection of Georgia and Colesville. So there's a big crane, and it would have.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
keep going.
no, you're good. I think you turned me off,
I
but as
did
long as
turn,
you can hear me,
I
that's
did
fine. As long as
turn.
you can hear me, it's good. Um, he Anyway, so we found an alternative building. The drone is back downtown. So downtown Silver Spring does have the drone again, and we've already seen some success with that since it's been back down there. And so that'll be a permanent fixture. We are waiting on some contract procurement things that have taken way longer than they should have to move to some newer technology that we are looking to put in White Oak. So that I think will be a 2026 project with getting some drone activity up in White Oak, and we've had some positive changes with our federal partners that regulate the airspace. So I think we're going to be in a good spot to get some really good service to Cherry Hill Road, White Oak, Lockwood, some parts of Hillendale, and maybe Burnt Mills, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Thank you. Danielle, you've got a question?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Um, so I have a question in regards to not the the everyday report that you've been given, but rather what is Montgomery County's approach, especially with 827G being passed, to this increased presence of masked, armed people that have been invading Langley Park, White Oak, brandishing weapons, kidnapping people that I have witnessed personally on several occasions. And you know, you're talking about the presence of police officers, but quite frankly, I don't think that this is something that's going to gear down. And I'd like to know what is the strategy that the police department expects to take face to face with this and this increased presence. You're seeing them around schools. I'm a teacher. And you talk about juveniles and trying to establish a rapport with juveniles. But how can you expect to establish a rapport with juveniles when their communities are being aggressively targeted in a very unconstitutional way? And so I'm just curious to know if there is any kind of strategy to push back against this and to keep the community safe, because right now I don't consider it safe. I was walking down the street and I saw people brandishing weapons and they're masked and there's no officers. I mean, I understand that you guys are outgunned, but I'm just curious to know, is there anything in place to push back against this, or is it just business as usual? I'll mute myself.
Yeah. So I'm gathering. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going to go. I'll answer it this way. I'm assuming you're talking about immigration enforcement, ICE, Border Patrol, federal agencies. Okay. Yeah. So I'll tell you what's going on and kind of what our position is and where we're going in the coming months here. So there have been some laws that have been passed. The most recent was signed by Governor Moore prohibiting 287G programs. Montgomery County, that doesn't affect us because we don't participate in a 287G program. What a 287G program is essentially is it allows either corrections staff, our jail employees, or police officers to be trained and deputized as immigration officers. We don't participate in that. So that law actually had no effect really for us because we weren't doing that. We've had longstanding policies and practices and procedures of providing public safety service to everybody equally, no matter who you are, where you're from, what your status is. When we respond to 911 calls, we don't ask people their status or where they're from. It doesn't matter to us. People are calling for help. We respond to help them. Immigration is a federal responsibility. It's not a local police officer's responsibility to enforce federal law. There's people in the community that want us to do that. There's people in the community that don't want us to do that. Regardless of where you stand on the issue, we don't have the authority to do it. So if you want us to do it, we can't. We don't have the authority. If you don't want us to do it, we can't. We don't have the authority. So that is a federal law enforcement task. The immigration orders are civil, so that's not something we can serve. We haven't done that. I remember when I was brand new in Silver Spring 20 years ago, I would get a beep on my computer that there's an immigration violation, but it's civil. I had no authority to take action on that. It's not my responsibility. If somebody has a criminal warrant, that's a different story. Obviously, we're obligated by a judge to do that, but these immigration violations thus far have been civil, so we're not participating in that. The federal government, they have the authority and the ability to do that. We do not have the authority to prevent them from doing that. We can't obstruct a federal law enforcement officer from engaging in what they're doing. There's a lot of discussion on, particularly after Minnesota, on training and tactics and masks and body cameras and things of that nature. It has yet to be seen how that's going to go in the future. Are they going to have body cameras? Are they going to have different tactics? We don't know yet. The police department doesn't have a close, tight working relationship with immigration enforcement. Like, I don't know when they come, when they're coming, where they're going. They don't call us. Most of the time, I hear about immigration enforcement from you all, from community members that live in Silver Spring, whether you email me or message me or whatever. If you and sometimes we have folks that call 911 to report suspicious activity or report individuals with weapons. We will respond. We will attempt to verify what's going on. There have been cases nationally where criminal organizations dress up as police and other entities to do robberies or kidnapping. So if somebody sees people armed with guns doing stuff, we want, if you feel comfortable, to call us. We can come verify what's going on. We can come out and see if it's a legitimate law enforcement operation or not. If we verify that it is a legitimate law enforcement operation, we can't interfere or obstruct that. We have to let them do their thing. What our position is we want everyone to be safe. So I can't tell them how to do their job, but if there's a way that we can help between the community and these individuals that work at various federal agencies to be safe, that's kind of my goal. So what do I mean by that? If there's a federal operation going on, I can't control that, but what I can control is directing traffic to allow our community members to stay away from individuals with guns that may be doing something. If folks show up to protest, we are a content neutral police department. I don't care what you're protesting. You have the right to protest. Whatever your issue is, you are afforded that in the Constitution to peacefully express yourself. Our job is to ensure that you're able to peacefully express yourself. So if someone shows up, you're on the sidewalk, you want to say things, you want to do things, that's your right. We'll help make sure that you stay in a safe place and you're able to do that. We want to de-escalate the situation. We don't want our community members to run over to federal agents and try to get in the way. That's how people get hurt. So we'll want to keep people separated. We want people to be able to express themselves. If we're handling the crowd, then that can reduce the chance of federal officers running towards that crowd and getting in the middle of that, as you've seen in other places. So if we show up in the middle of something, our job is to keep our community safe to the best that we can within the powers that we have. So we're not going to be doing immigration operations. We don't do joint operations. We're not taking people into custody on their immigration status. Our job is to make sure that whatever's going on is lawful and peaceful. There's a lot of different feelings on what is lawful and what tactics are constitutional. So what I would say to that, and it's the same as if you see something on a state and local police officer that you're not happy with, is to file complaints, file concerns. There's a variety of ways to do that, depending on which agency. Our officers do wear body cameras. If we do show up to a scene, our cameras are going to be on. We'll be recording things. If we observe things, we'll be writing reports and documenting that as a county police agency. So that's kind of our posture is hopefully, if that makes sense, is to basically try to keep people surrounding one of these operations, if we get there in time, safe the best we can. So we don't want somebody driving into the middle of it with their car. We don't want people running in the middle of it. We want to keep everyone kind of separated. They do their thing. We can't stop it. We're not going to be participating. But that's pretty much, I guess, the best I can offer.
Thank you, Danielle. Cecily Thorne has got a question. Thank you for joining us, Cecily. She's the chief of staff to our downtown Silver Spring council member, Kate Stewart. Cecily, please.
Yeah, I was just going to add on to that actually, and thank you, Commander, for that. The council also just passed, and the county executive tomorrow is signing the Trust Act, which actually codifies everything that Commander Kokinos was just speaking about. By law, by our local law, we are not allowed county employees or not to be working on. I also want to note that they have also put Montgomery County patches on the back of their uniforms so people can better identify who our Montgomery County police are. So I just wanted to mention those two things, because I think we're trying to respond and find ways that we can support our community. And we take calls all the time in Councilmember Stewart's office, and I know our other council members. And I see Jacob Newman's on here, our regional director for downtown Silver Spring, and for the greater Silver Spring area. We hear from people all the time when things are happening, and have really tried hard to connect people to assistance too, as far as making sure their families are helped and so forth. So I just wanted to mention that, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Cecily. Fatmata Bare is here, and she has a question. Fatmata. I did see your hand raised, Fatmata. If you didn't have a question, I'll ask one. There's a couple of questions in the chat.
Unmute. Okay, it's okay.
Okay,
Are
go
you
ahead,
good?
Famata. Go ahead, Famata.
Okay. So very quick. You said earlier about rogue actors pretending to be law enforcement or ICE or whatever, trying to kidnap people. There's some. So my question is there a process that you have with MCPD? Is there a process that MCPD has to ensure that when people show up and they have these things on their bodies, they have the patches or whatever you want to call it, that they're not actually rogue actors, like they are who they appear to be visibly? Is there a process to protect folks from rogue actors? Because I know it's happened in Maryland, it's happened in Virginia. There's several different reporting of this exact same thing happening. Does MCPD have a process?
Yes. Yep. So we can do that. We do have one thing that we do and we have done is like ICE, Border Patrol, whatever. They won't tell us what they're doing and where they're at. But if we do interact with them, they are cooperative with us to identify who they are, their agency, and we can verify that they're legitimate. We have a phone number that myself or the lieutenants, we can call in to verify, what's going on. We had an incident the other day where federal agents tried to um, apprehend an individual. That person sped away in their car. There was a brief chase. That person crashed their car and ran away. They were scared, so they called us. That's what we want. We want people to call us. This person called us, which I'm glad that that person trusted local law enforcement to call us. And we were able to verify that they weren't being kidnapped by rogue actors, but it actually was legitimate federal law enforcement. Now, when that person contacted us, we didn't then, we didn't hold on to them or turn them over or anything. We didn't have that authority, but we were able to verify that it was a legitimate attempt by a federal law enforcement agency. So we can verify that to the best that we can. There are ways we can do that.
Thank you, Fatmata. There's a question in the chat about the drone in White Oak and sort of the status, expected date for a drone presence in White Oak. Do you have any information on that?
Yeah, I would have liked to already had it there. Our hands are kind of tied by some county procurement contractual regulations that are getting finalized. Um, the hope is once that procurement stuff is finalized, we're working on, in the meantime, the infrastructure at the site for that. It'll be at the Silver Spring Police Station, so we just have to do some things like run some internet and stuff. Once we get that done, we get the things purchased. The drones, they'll be in these docks, modern technology. It's very nice. While that process begins, that's when we're going to work with Council Member Mink's office. We're going to host a town hall in White Oak. We've done a number of these town halls wherever we put drones, and a lot of people are familiar with our drone program, but we always want to give people another opportunity to come ask questions and learn about it. So we'll do a town hall with the council member up there prior to going live with the White Oak drone. But I'm hopeful it will be here within the next few months, no later than summer, I would hope.
Thank you for that answer. I wanted to go back to remarks you made at the very beginning about the fighting down at Metro. Can you say more about that? Were there's Silver Spring youth involved in that, or was it all from the district and other places?
All of our juvenile issues that we've had in the last month have been kids from the District of Columbia. There's been no Silver Spring residents or folks involved at all. I'm not sure why or what brought people from there. We've had that last year a little bit. For those that follow the regional media, there's been a lot of Navy Yard issues in DC with kids and violence and stuff. We did have an incident that we prevented at the end near the last fall of kids, the same kids from Navy Yard that were coming up to Silver Spring. So I'm not sure why, but they have all been from Washington, D.C. the last month or so.
Thanks. One of the issues that's popped up in regional media is police in schools, the SRO program and the community engagement officers. I wonder, since our last meeting, if there have been any incidents in sort of our greater Silver Spring schools having to do with gangs, guns, ghost guns, that kind of thing.
No, luckily, knock on wood, our Silver Spring schools have been, we haven't had any issues like what we just saw at Wooten, thankfully. Last year, we did have some fights and disputes at Blair, but in partnering with Street Outreach Network and the MCPS and some other partners, we were able to do some prevention, intervention, counseling type stuff with a lot of these kids, and we saw a lot of those issues resolve, which is good. We had tracked some occasional issues with students between Blake, which is in the 4th district, Wheaton, and Paint Branch, which is in Silver Spring. But again, fights, disputes, things that our community engagement officers and the schools have been able to kind of, get involved with. That's the thing that I've seen personally the most successful with officers related to schools. Our officers that work in the schools, they're all diverse officers. They want to work with kids. They're not looking to do criminal enforcement or make arrests. They're there to build relationships and try to get ahead of problems before they happen. And that's what happens with a lot of our school officers now is they get to know some of the kids. Hey, Johnny's having a dispute with Mark over a girl. It's heating up. They can go to the principal, to counselors, and try to get some intervention in that before it turns into something big. So I think that in our Silver Spring schools, we've had a lot of intervention and prevention. Last year, we did have a couple. We had a couple of stabbings outside of school that were school related. Um, Nothing super serious, but yeah. So far so good.
Thanks for that answer. Scott Goldberg, it's nice to see some of our candidates for countywide office on the call. So thank you all for joining us and learning about our issues. Scott Goldberg, you've got a question.
Alan, it is always nice to see you. Uh, Commander Coquinos, two questions. Number one, where in Jersey are you from? And number,
East of Trenton, Mercer County.
oh, nice. I grew
Yeah.
up in Bergen County. Uh,
Nice.
and question number two, how is the morale of your officers?
Morale is uh in the third district is pretty good. We're still working on that every day. Staffing is a little bit of an issue. I will say that one thing that has helped the morale increase. So I've been in Silver Spring now almost, well, this July will be 2 years. The thing that I've seen over the last 18 months plus is the support of our community members. When I go to East County or Citizens Advisory, or I go to Silver Spring, or I go to different HOAs or whatever, people want constitutional, professional, respectful policing. And that's what I push for in Silver Spring. The citizens, the residents, the businesses, we get a lot of positive feedback, and we get a lot of people saying thank you to officers. That helps. Um, I'll say that there's a number of council members that have shown their support, which is helpful when our political leaders are supporting good police work, good police relations. So things are better than they were. There's always little speed bumps here and there as we try to navigate new laws and new things that have happened, but it's a work in progress. We got to keep at it.
Thanks for this question, Scott. There's another question in the chat. Are there any updates on the speed cameras in the safe speed corridor along the 2400 block of Seminary? Where are we with sort of automated traffic enforcement, and what do you know about the seminary?
Yeah, so we late last fall, we put out a news release. We signed a new contract with a new speed camera vendor. So I know that we are in the process of getting new speed cameras through the new vendor, and those installations are happening. Where those cameras are, so that happens out of headquarters. Our central traffic has a speed camera program. I do know that where a number of our speed camera locations are in Silver Spring will be replaced with these newer cameras from this new company. So I know that is underway. I don't know the timeline of when all of our cameras are going to be replaced in the Silver Spring area, though.
Thank you for that answer. What can you tell us about sort of the status of the mental health services, the kind of cooperation you're having with HHS, especially in the downtown Silver Spring area? I guess one question is, did we see any um, people experiencing an increase in people experiencing homelessness after the district took strict action against them? Did we have an increase in people experiencing homelessness in Silver Spring, particularly in the downtown area? And have there been increased calls for mental health interventions, over the course of the last several months?
Yeah, so I will say that, you know, one thing that I'm really happy about, I always talk about saying that things can be better and we can do better, but one thing that's working really well are our partnerships. Health and Human Services, Urban District, regional services like Jacob and Giroux, Department of Transportation. It makes our job a lot easier to improve things when we have these partnerships. Health and Human Services, we have a really good partnership. We have standing meetings with regarding downtown Silver Spring homelessness, the Progress Place shelter, mental health issues, encampments, things of that nature. So when DC was doing like they had the bulldozers out and they're cleaning these encampments and stuff, we thought we were going to see a lot of people coming up to Silver Spring to the shelters. From what I'm being told by a number of people, both police and non-police partners, is we did not see this big surge of homelessness coming into downtown Silver Spring. So that's a good thing. I don't know where those folks went. I know the District of Columbia itself was trying to increase services as the federal government was removing some of the encampments in different places. So we have started putting mental health professionals with police officers in a co-responder program, and that is in a pilot phase. That's our crisis response teams. I heard them this morning going to two different calls in the Silver Spring district with those mental health resources for people that are armed with a knife in a room, suicidal, different things like that. We get a lot of mental health calls. And so we obviously work well with our mobile crisis, the MCOT, mobile crisis outreach teams. Sometimes they go out by themselves. Sometimes they need us for assistance. So the partnerships are there. I know that Health and Human Services is trying to expand its ability to offer more mental health. It's a tough thing sometimes because you have to be persistent. It's not like I go up to someone who's having a mental health crisis and I say, "Hey, do you want to get some help?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And then it's all done. Sometimes people are resistant to services. Sometimes we have to engage a client five, six, seven, 10 times to get them to agree to get help. It's something that all of the partners are working on. We have in downtown Silver Spring, for those that have met her, Officer Nikki Hawkins. She's a homeless outreach officer, 40 hours a week. She's at the shelter trying to help people with mental health, trying to divert them from criminal situations, works with partners in outreach and things of that nature. So a lot going on with that, a lot more that can be done. We're doing the best we can. We're hoping to get more co-responder models where we're bringing mental health professionals in a safe environment to help people. But those issues persist downtown. A lot of our quality of life issues are related to our homeless population downtown, vandalisms, public urination, petty theft, things of that nature.
Here's a question in the chat. What about the homeless at the White Oak Transit Center on Lockwood Drive?
So we engaged with Health and Human Services about there was some homelessness also over at the Enclave. We've been partnering with them about that. Since we've done our Lockwood Drive White Oak Transit Center emphasis quality of life details last fall, we have not seen people hanging out as much at the transit center as they were. So if there's homeless people that are up there, we haven't been encountering them as much. That doesn't mean that they're not around. Maybe they've gone somewhere else or they're more discreet. We've gotten a lot less complaints about homelessness in the White Oak area. Some of that might be it's the cold weather season, so we'll have to keep an eye on that as it gets warm. But I know we did have some concerns last fall, and we bring in Health and Human Services. My approach has been since I've been in Silver Spring is to try to handle homelessness without enforcement initially. So if we can get our other partners in to alleviate the issue through Health and Human Services, through services, through some of the nonprofits, I try to go that route first. Obviously, if it's something really egregious, we may have to do enforcement, but we try to not use the criminal justice system as a way to clean up a homeless issue.
Thanks for that answer. I know we're having look like some technical problems here, but we hear you perfectly. So let's try another question. You mentioned that, or was it one of your other
Something about a front window.
that we took a lot of a lot of guns off the street. How many of them were ghost guns, and how big a problem is that?
Uh, um, so our gun seizures last year went up 36%. What's interesting is we were seeing a lot of ghost guns 2023, 2024. There's been a series of laws that were some clamp down on the manufacturers at the federal, but we actually are that's kind of a lies gun. It was stolen out of another state. So we are still seeing some ghost guns, but not as much as we were in years past. They're still out there, but we're still seeing guns that are stolen or have serial. We just, hard to tell with the serial number being taken off. But
Because there was a
gun
ghost gun. There was a ghost gun at
seizures were
high
up
school, right?
last year, particularly downtown Silver Spring.
Anybody have any other
And
questions?
so you look at gun seizures are up or down. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think you cut out there. You still there?
No, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
I did see a question about a win maybe. I actually don't. Um, yep. Can you hear me?
Can
I can hear.
hear you.
Can anyone else hear me?
We can
I,
Okay,
hear you.
perfect. Um, excellent. So uh, I like to always have an answer for everything, but I don't have an answer for 8235 Georgia Avenue. So we can figure that out. I'm not sure what happened there with that window being broken. So someone finally got me. Daniel, you stumped me. We'll look into that and see what we can come up with on that.
okay.
Alan, I don't know if we can still hear you. I don't have any more questions in the chat. I don't know if anyone else has one out.
Yeah, I'm having some technical problems on
Seems like
on
Alan's having a
this
little bit of a
end,
delay.
and so
Yeah.
yeah, no, I've got a serious issue over here. So maybe you could sum up. My computer's my brand new computer, like 4 years ago, is beginning to glitch.
Doing the spaceship, that would be a problem.
Marks, can you hear
Looks
me?
like Fatmata has a question.
Go ahead, Fatmata.